chosen for the day was Psalm 19. So that fits wonderfully well. And the words that Tanya finished with, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of all our hearts be acceptable unto thee, O Lord, our God, Redeemer, are words that I would always start when I'm about to preach a sermon. But this is not a sermon. Peter was born in Berlin to Patrick and Irene McDonagh. Patrick worked for the British Services Security Organisation. Peter's birth took place during the Berlin blockade, and he felt the continuance of his existence was in no small part down to the RAF and their critical role in the airlift that kept all of West Berlin supplied with fuel and food. He grew up speaking both German and English and attended the local British military kindergarten and primary schools. As regiments came and went, he honed his survival skills, learning to imitate accents from Devon to the Highlands, plus learning to mix with the sons and daughters of catchment areas from rural moors and hills to the most deprived inner city areas. Peter was small for his age and beautifully brought up by his parents. It became essential that he could pass muster among some very tough cookies. Then he was off to the UK as a boarder at grading school. Half-terms were spent very happily here in Liverpool, where he was well cared for by his mother's family, the Olivers. University years were at St John's College, Oxford, reading English. He always maintained that the fact that he left with a third was testament to university years well spent. Throughout childhood and adolescence, he loved to listen to the wireless, the British Forces network in particular. It was a natural progression that he should end up working as a volunteer in their Berlin studios. BFN became BFPBS. I realised there was a link there. And Peter couldn't believe his luck when he was accepted by this splendid organisation to become a trainee announcer in far-flung Singapore. He proceeded to career through postings throughout the world, promotions and a demotion, and further promotions to end up as director of the British Forces Broadcasting Services, BFBS. It was hugely important to him, and his wonderfully anarchic broadcasting was much appreciated by civilians and service folk alike. He loved the company of fellow enthusiasts, thoroughly enjoying helping to train new recruits as much as encouraging old hands. It mattered deeply to him that those broadcasters who were not from a services background should appreciate what services were all about. That ideally they should be able to mix with all and share an understanding of the trials and tribulations of service life, as well as the robust humour and can-do attitude of the very best of such folk. It also mattered deeply that BFBS should be present, supporting the services whenever our services were, wherever they served. That they didn't just share the peacetime postings, but also saw active service from Bosnia to the Gulf and beyond. Peter campaigned vigorously to help bring this about. A major feature of his childhood was the annual radio appeal for wireless for the blind. Down the years, Peter revelled in the wondrously imaginative ideas devised by his fellow jocks to ensure this continued to be so successful. He was greatly honoured to have served as chairman of the British Wireless for the Blind Fund. A feature of his post BFBS years was time spent as a lecturer at the local college. Another opportunity to enjoy and encourage enthusiasm, a great love of people and of the art and craft of broadcasting. Basically, as quoted, one cool dude. Starting in 1972 and throughout the years thereafter, Peter's partner in crime was one Tanya, her words, better known to BFBS friends and family as Boo. Together, and in a ridiculously short period of time, they produced 5 children: Tabitha, who sadly died in infancy, Mandy, Oliver, Alex, and Patrick. Peter looked on in wonderment and delight as this little tribe developed their various skills and interests, as they went out into the world and in due course came to find their own helpmates and raise much loved families of their own. Moo is a product of the same background as Peter, born and bred in Germany with a sneaky, beaky father. For Peter and Moo, time spent together was predominantly spent, very happily, deep in discussion of all things BF, BS, and service life, and of concerns over and the triumphs of trainees and students, and friends and colleagues past and present. In their latter years, Peter and Moo had a brainstorm and took up residence in a field in Caithness. That's in Scotland. 2.5-hour bus ride to Inverness. And I asked her on, did she need to have a passport? There they worked together to create a garden in the teeth of opposition from local rabbits and deer. These were amongst their happiest years. Peter and Moo had a service attitude to the inevitable, accept the new reality in very short order and take it from there. Peter was never dismayed by the prognosis he received last year, much as he would have liked to stay, and did his level best to do so. He was sustained by his belief in a benign and loving power that rules us all. A kind, thoughtful, witty, clever, multi-talented and loving man, possessed of a wicked sense of humour and greatly loved by many. And for the devotees of Dr. Hook among you, Pete actually did get his picture on the cover of the Rolling Stone. I have no idea what that is. Now let's stand and let's sing the hymn, I vow to thee my country.